You're welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be looking at the research report formatting. A research report is a publication that reports the findings of a research study. After carrying out a research study, the last thing you do is to write a research report. So in this video, we are going to look at how a research report looks like what is there, what comprises a research report. First is the preliminary pages. Preliminary means something like introductory pages. It does not show the main thing. It does not show the content of the research report, but it's just introduction. Preliminary pages, and under this we have page 1, which is the cover page. This possesses the name of the organization, for example, Makerere University. Then the topic, the name of the researcher, the registration number in case the person carrying out the research is a student, the registration number, name of the supervisor, the statement of submission, then the date of the submission, including the month and the year. Then the next page is called the declaration page. It shows declaration. This is always a general statement trying to express or claim one towards the presentation. For example, I gift declare that this research work is my original work and has never been submitted to any institution for any academic award. It must have your name, signature, and then the date. That is the declaration page. Then page 3 is called the approval page. It shows approval. This is a statement of authority by the supervisor to consenting to what has been presented to have come out of his approval. So the approval page, it is mainly the approval of the supervisor approving that you carried out research. Then the fourth page is called the dedication page. You dedicate your work to your loved ones as you wish. Page 5 is called the acknowledgement page. This is where you appreciate whoever you think might have contributed to your research, whoever helped you in your research. And then another page we have the table of content. This indicates the chapters, sub-chapters, and it must be neat enough. It lists the tables, if any, and a list of abbreviations. It shows what is in the research report. It shows the content. It shows a summary of the content in the research report. Then another page, the last page under the preliminary pages, is the abstract page. To summarize what the report is all about. This is not relevant for the proposal, but it's a must for a report, the abstract page. So that is what is under the preliminary pages of a research report. These preliminary pages are named or numbered with italics. Page 1, 2, 3, Roman numeral 1, 2, 3. So that was all about the preliminary pages. Then the real body of the research report, it starts with chapter 1. And chapter 1, under chapter 1 is where we have the introduction. It is a brief of what the chapter is all about, what the research is all about. Then background, to show that the problem actually exists. Define briefly. Mention something to do with the case study, its status, location, etc. Everything we need to know. Describe the evidence that is supporting the existence of the problem. What you have read from the sources of literature, alternative key statements or key issues put up by different authors. Do not state the problem, but evidence to the problem. In 3 paragraphs, at least 1 page, and at most 11 out of 2 pages. Observation is always a source of evidence. So the second thing in chapter 1 is the background. Show that the problem actually exists. Yeah, and evidence that the problem actually exists, and also show the sources of literature that you used to know that the problem actually exists. Then you also state the problem, statement of the problem. This is a statement of fact. It shows what is exactly happening, at least a quarter a page. Yeah. What is the calamity that is likely to come out if the problem is not addressed? Yeah. You go in the previous videos and watch how we are supposed to state a problem. Yeah, stating a problem also has 3 chapters. Yeah, the introduction chapter, and then the details, then conclusion. Yeah, so statement of the problem, it covers like a half a page, a quarter a page, sorry. Yeah, then you also state the purpose of the study. Purpose of the study, this is the major goal of the study, stated in action words like to find out, to examine, etc. It must be one sentence. It must clearly bring out your study variables. That is the purpose of study. Then you also include the research objectives to have, and these have to be SMART, a minimum of 3 to 6 objectives. Then research questions, you turn the research objectives into questions. In case you have 3 research objectives, you'll have 3 research questions. Yeah. Then scope of the study, this is divided into 3. We have the geographical scope, the contextual scope, the time scope. There is also what we call the demographic scope. Yeah, we covered all this in our previous videos. Yeah. Then it is mainly divided into 2. There is subject scope. How far into the subject will you cover? It's also known as the contextual scope. Then geographical scope, it shows the location, like the coverage of the research study, yeah, in terms of location. Then time scope, it shows how long the study would take to get completed. Yeah. Then you also include significance of the study, reasons for the research, and relevance of the findings. So that is what we put in the introduction part, or part 1, chapter 1 of the research report. The introduction, background, statement of a problem, purpose of the study, research objectives, research questions, scope of the study, where we have the subject scope, geographical scope, time scope, and then lastly, significance of the study. Then chapter 2 is called literature review. Literature review. Literature review is like analyzing literature, looking at literature critically. Yeah, so that you can get what you're looking for. So that you can discover an information gap, something like that. Yeah, so under literature review, we have the introduction. Yeah, and this chapter is about what you are going to talk about in the chapter. Definition of terms, go into details of the subject, compare different authors and books, because literature review, you first read books of different authors. Yeah, so that you can come up with, so that you can identify an information gap that will help you get a research problem. Yeah, go into details of the subject, compare different authors and books, then a detailed letter about each variable and the relationship. Yeah, about 5 pages or more. That is the chapter of literature review. Then the third chapter is research methodology. Shows the methods that you used when carrying out research. Because a research report is written after carrying out research, and a research proposal is written before carrying out research. Yeah, so under this chapter, we have the introduction, then research design. You mention the type of research you're carrying out. Is it qualitative, quantitative, something like that? Empirical, applied. So you mention the type of research you're carrying out. Then you mention your study population. maybe you're studying the whole of Uganda. Sampling method, that says and how. Sampling, maybe you're using Kampala and Jinja. Data collection methods, maybe you're using observation, personal interviews and questionnaires. Then data analysis and presentation. Is it in tables, frequencies, graphs, or paragraphs? Yeah. Then limitations, the researcher will, or first. Limitations, the researcher first. You also include them in research methodology. Yeah. Then chapter 4. Chapter 4, it's about processing, analysis, and presentation. Yeah, you introduce and then write about data analysis and presentation. And chapter 5 is conclusion and recommendation. Introduction, you conclude your research study. After, you recommend the things that should be done or the things that should be avoided. Then after you write the references, we talked about the format of writing references. Then appendices. Appendices refers to the relevant attachments like the questionnaire, if any, photos, graphs, tables, etc. So that is the format of the research report. The first thing we write is the preliminary pages. Then after the preliminary pages, we go to the introduction, which is chapter 1. After chapter 1, we go to chapter 2, which is literature review. And then chapter 3, which is research methodology. Chapter 4 is processing, analysis, and data presentation. And then chapter 5 is conclusion and recommendation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share with your friends, and watch my next video. We are going to be looking at the format of a research report, an example of a research report.